Hi all. In my last video I showed you this endgame that I played with when I was a piece up and it ended in a draw. And I would like to show you the whole game now. I was playing black and my opponent played e4, so I played the Pirc defense, and he chose for this knight f3 system that is the classical variation. He plays h3 now to prevent my bishop from developing to g4 and pinning the knight on f3. I cancelled, and now he played bishop to e3, so he wants to play on the dark squares, probably later queen to d2 and bishop h6. I played c6 and he played a4 here. So white's strategy seems to be to prevent black's counterplay. He wants to prevent b5, and with h3 he prevents bishop to g4, so he's actually trying to play this prophylactic moves, and this actually shows how flexible the Pirc defense is, because if the bishop, the light square bishop of black, cannot be developed to g4, there are more options. I played here b6 with the idea of playing bishop to b7 or bishop to a6. He played bishop to c4 now, and this is a thematic sacrifice here on e4. Knight takes e4, knight takes e4, d5, pinning both light pieces. Bishop goes to d3, and now I take on e4 and takes back. Now I played bishop to b7, and he played here knight to e5. So white is now trying to put more and more pressure on this c6 square. I played queen to c8, defending the c6 pawn one more time, so I can develop later my knight without being this letting this c6 pawn undefended. And now queen to f3, putting even more pressure on c6. But actually it looks as if white has the upper hand here with all this pressure, but it's not that easy for white, because black now plays f5, and suddenly this bishop has to leave this diagonal, so he must go to d3, and now black plays c5, attacking the queen with the bishop on b7, and also it becomes clear that these two pieces here, the pawn on d4 and the knight on e5, start becoming vulnerable. Now of course the queen must be saved, and my opponent first gave a check on c4, and that's actually not a good idea, because he places the bishop on the same file as my queen now. So later I get tactical ideas of that can arise in this kind of captures here. Now I played e6, and now the queen must move, queen to g3, and I played knight to c6. So I'm threatening now to take on d4 and win a pawn. To prevent that, he took on c6. I took with the queen again, and now we see that the d4 pawn is under attack, and if I take on d4 I will also be attacking the c4 bishop, and also the queen and the bishop are attacking g2 two times, and it's only defended one time. And another thing is that my dark square bishop is on this diagonal towards the pawn on b2, so black has actually a very nice position here. My opponent played d takes c5, and that is a tactical mistake. It's a terrible mistake because it loses a piece. I played f4, bishop takes f4, and now queen e4 check, attacking the bishop on f4 twice, and attacking also the bishop on c4 that is undefended. Queen to e3 was played. I took with my rook on f4. He took on e6, check, king h8, and now he castled queenside. I trade queens, and then I take on a4. Now I'm threatening to give a check on a1, and after king to d2 bring the other rook to d8 with check, and exchanging both rooks. So he plays king to b1. Now rook to e4, attacking the bishop and the pawn on e3. Rook to d7. I take on e6, he takes my bishop. And here I played bishop to f8. It's not the best move. Actually, more accurate would have simply been to take on c5 and open the b file to later, for example, play rook to b6. But in the game I played bishop to f8, rook to f1, and here I took on c5, b takes c5. Now of course I cannot play rook to e7 because it's a tactical blunder. Then white takes on f8, takes the defender of this rook, and then, oh sorry, like this, suddenly it's white winning. So these are the tactics that we have to be careful about in the endgame. So b takes e5 here, rook f2 f7. He has control over the 7th rank, but still black has a won position. Now here I made my second little mistake actually. I played rook takes e3, but more accurate would have been to play h6 first, because then I would save these pawns on the king side, and his pawns will stay weak anyway, the pawn on e3. But anyway, in the game, rook takes e3, rook takes h7 check, king g8, and now g4. I played a5 here, h4, rook to g3, h5, and looking at the comments that were written after my last video, player Knight's Tale 22 commented that if you are in an endgame with more material than your opponent, you have to keep as many pawns on the board as possible, and that's something that I could have done here, because in the game I played rook takes g4, but because of this rule that is commented by Knight's Tale 22, g5 would have been a better move. If, for example, rook h to d7, now rook takes g4, and the g pawn is on the board still, so I have a passed pawn that can become dangerous, and later I can play, for example, rook to h4 and then rook takes h5. Now in the game I was not that careful, and I played rook takes g4. Now he took on g6, I took on g6, and rook to c7, rook g8, king a2. I trade one of the rooks, and now a4, king a3, and here we are actually at the position that I showed you in my previous video. So I will not comment on this to save some time on this video, and if you would like to have a look at why this move king to f5 is a mistake, have a look at my last video, the one about this endgame, and this is how the game ended in a draw. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video, and leave your comments on YouTube. Goodbye.